Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well today.
Students often receive research assignments.
Okay. All right, so let's review a little bit about what we talked about yesterday. First, does anybody have any questions? So far? All right, what are the 3 ways that you get sources into your paper that we talked about yesterday? Paraphrase, good. That means basically taking the source and translating it into your own words, right? Yeah, you have to cite it. Everything you take from a source except right has to be cited, quote, and summarized. Thank you, Adeline. So what is common knowledge that does not have to have a citation? What qualifies as common knowledge? Doesn't take research to know and understand. Yeah, it's like anything that you can walk into a decent library and find pretty quickly. You don't need a lot of information. So if I'm asking you to look up a famous quotation or a date, you can generally sit down at a computer or look in an online encyclopedia and find it really quickly. You don't need a lot of information to get there. Also, nobody owns it. Nobody thought of it or originated it. It doesn't belong to anyone. Those kinds of things are considered common knowledge, unless they're quotes, and most of those are older. Some of the people are gone. Shakespeare, the King James Version of the Bible. Those kinds of things, you don't have to look up a source for a date or anything like that. It's mostly people's ideas, thoughts, words that you're going to need to cite. Mostly in a paper, you're going to use quoting, right, and paraphrasing. So how much of your paper should be directly quoted material, approximately? Yeah, about 10%. So I'm not going to kill you if it's 11, But sometimes I say that and people are like, oh, I won't put any quotes in. Well, no, quotes are still like a spice. So we still want to hear from people, or else your paper feels kind of, you know, dead and not as lively as if you have real people speaking. Okay. So we talked about, and paraphrasing takes work. This is where most people accidentally plagiarize. And there are a couple of reasons for this. One is you get too close to the original wording. Sounds like too much of an echo, okay? Or you cite it, but you don't necessarily, well, you don't fully put it in your own words, or you put it in your own words, but you don't use the citation. So you have to have everything you take from a source that is their thoughts, ideas, has to be cited. Okay? You don't cite it even though you've taken it from somewhere else. That's your words. So I have to have the citation. Okay. These are all things I'll be asking you about on the final exam, but you're going to be using them in any research paper that you do for college extensively. Anybody know why we assign your research papers? What is the point educationally of a research paper? It is not to torture you. Basically, you go out and get an in-depth understanding of the subject, and then you come back and show us what you've learned. Okay? So it's a tool for learning. Basically, you show us that you can go out there, you can do research, you can process that research and that information, and then you can make a cogent argument out of it, or you can supply information clearly. And it shows us what you've learned in the process. So it is a tool for learning and for writing. All right. So let's see what else. You fully want to translate it. So what are some rules about paraphrasing? How many words in a row can you use or not use before you get too close to the original? No more than how many words? Yeah, some books are even stricter, but generally you don't want more than 3 words in a row that are directly in the same place as the original has it, right? We also talked about signal phrases. What is a signal phrase? What does it signal? Yes, it sets up the person's credibility by giving us just a little bit of information, so reporter, researcher, medical website. You're giving us some sort of information about what the source is and why they have the ability or qualifications to speak about whatever it is, right? It's also just a nice, smooth way to introduce whatever's coming in your paper. You're like, heads up, I'm about to give you something from a source. Okay? Some of you got to show me those yesterday. Kind of ran out of time. You just want something like, I posted under the announcements a list of verbs so you can have some variety. Also, those help reflect what you think the source is doing, whether they're opposing something, claiming something, reinforcing something. It just adds a little bit more information for us about how you see the source contributing to the discussion, right? Might say something like, reporter John Smith points out that most people do not want to die for the economy. I'm watching way too much coronavirus news. Okay. So it does two things. Identifies the authority of the source, and it smoothly introduces the source information to your paper. Because you don't want to drop a quote into it. You always want a signal phrase, whether you're paraphrasing, whether you're quoting, or whether you're summarizing. Don't just drop the quote in without any of your words attached to it. It's called the drop quotation in some places. Okay. Let's see, did we cover anything else yesterday? Paraphrasing is probably hardest, and we'll do some more practicing on that probably tomorrow to help you with your paper for Monday. But I do want to talk about a couple more punctuation marks that can help you with quoting things in your paper. Give me just a second here, and I'm going to share a video with you.
You want to add words in order to clarify and delete words.
One second. Okay, this is how to add and delete words, because since you only have 10% of your paper that you can use for direct quotes, then you want to save it. If there's something part of the quote that's not necessary, you can delete it and save space for other quotes you really do need. And sometimes you have to add something to clarify what the source is talking about, since we don't get to see the original. So she's going to explain.
Words from quotations that you're using in your paper. You will want to do this in order to reduce confusion. Adding words can help you clarify confusing information which appears in your quotation, while deleting words can help you eliminate unnecessary information from your quotation. So let me walk you through both of these. We're going to start with adding words. You want to add words in order to clarify a question that readers are going to have about information that appears in your quotation. A question such as who, what, when, where, why, or how. When you add words, you will want to add words in brackets. Those are those square parentheses around the words brackets to show what you've added. That way we can tell what you've added apart from what was in the original. And you always want to keep additions brief, usually between 1 to 3 words, at the most a long phrase, never a full sentence. So let me give you an example. Let's say the German word verboten appeared in your paper. Your reader is going to have a question about this. What does verboten mean? They'll ask. So in brackets, after the word verboten, you will add the translation, forbidden. Let me give you one more example from a real life article. If we come on over here, I want you to imagine that we are reading this article here on Inside Out, the Pixar film. So you can see the title there, and the author's there, and then the quotation that we want to use is right down here. It is sadness that leads Riley to reunite with her parents. And I've put this in a Microsoft Word document right here, along with the authors, and then the start of a quote sandwich. So let's take the quotation and move it down into our quote sandwich. And our readers may say, well, who is Riley? And so in brackets after Riley, we're going to add this, the heroine of Inside Out. And now there is absolutely no question about who Riley is. But our readers can also tell that the words, the heroine of Inside Out, did not appear in the original quotation. There's something we've added. All right, so now that you know how to add words, let me show you how to delete words. Come on back over here, and you are going to want to delete words in order to focus attention on the point that you're making with the quotation by replacing with ellipses, that's the fancy name for that ... words that are either unneeded or irrelevant. By unneeded, I mean words that serve a purpose in the original, but not in your article. So for instance, words that are part of a quote sandwich in the original, which you won't need when you create a quote sandwich of your own, or words that are irrelevant, by which I mean they're not very, very closely related to the point that you're making with the quotation. Right. And one thing to know here, there is no need for ellipses at the beginning or end of a quotation. I occasionally see people put them there either right after the beginning quotation marks or right before the ending quotation marks. You just don't need to do that. Don't worry about it. All right, so let me give you another example here. And if we come on over here, I want you to imagine this time that we are reading this article here, Who Owns the Internet by Julian Assange. He's the founder of WikiLeaks. And here is the quotation that we want to use. At their core, companies like Google and Facebook are in the same business as the US government's National Security Agency. They collect a vast amount of information about people, store it, integrate it, and use it to predict individual and group behavior, which they then sell to advertisers and others. All right, if we are writing a paper on how Google and Facebook collect and sell our information, we probably don't need that stuff in the middle about the National Security Agency. We can take it out. Let me show you how to do that. Right, again, I have the quotation and the author and the start of a quote sandwich. And so now I'm going to take the quotation, put it into the quote sandwich, and I want to get rid of this part right here. So I'm simply going to highlight it, delete it, and put a ... and ellipses to signal that I have taken something out. Now it's worth noting that the words at their core are necessary in the original quotation, but not here. In the original, they help with organization and flow. We don't need them here, so we're simply going to take them out and start our sentence with the word companies. And if we want to focus on Google and Facebook selling our information to advertisers, we can also take out the words and others. Right? Notice that even though we took something out at the beginning and end of the sentence, we do not have ellipses because it's right before and after the quotation marks. Right? That's the only place you don't need to put ellipses is at the very beginning or very end of a quotation. In the middle of a quotation, you will need ellipses. All right, let me give you one more example that shows how I would use both adding and deleting words to make a quotation work in my paper. So I want you to imagine this time that we are using this article here called The Literary Canon Could Make Students Squirm by Jennifer Medina. The literary canon is a collection of books, such as Huckleberry Finn, that you would traditionally read in a high school or college level English classroom. And if we scroll down, here's the quotation I want to use. Trigger warnings, they say, they is referring to university professors here, suggest a certain fragility of mind that higher learning is meant to challenge, not embrace. By the way, a trigger warning is kind of a label on a book that says, hey, this might contain objectionable or offensive content, such as the N-word in Huckleberry Finn. All right, so if we come back over here to Microsoft Word, I've got the original quotation and the author, and I've set up the quote sandwich here. Notice, by the way, that I've named the university professors because I know that my readers are not going to know who they is referring to. So I'm going to take the quotation and move it after my introduction like that. And because the words they say were needed in the original, but not here, since I referred to university professors in the quote introduction, I'm going to get rid of them in order to focus on the idea about trigger warnings. Right, now I also know, however, that my readers may not know what a trigger warning is. They may have a question about it. So in brackets, after the word trigger warnings, I'm going to add a definition. Here's what I'm going to add. Put simply, a heads up that a particular book may contain offensive material such as racist language. Right, and the addition will clarify what a trigger warning is, while the brackets tell the reader that this phrase is something I have added to the quotation. It did not appear in the original. So I have used both deleting words to focus on the main idea and adding words to clarify possible confusion or questions in order to make this quotation work for my paper. All right, so let me review really briefly. When you add words, you want to do so with brackets, the square parentheses, to show the reader that you have added those words. You add words, and doing so is going to answer readers' questions about material that appears in the text and clarify information. If you need to delete words in order to focus on the main point of the quotation a little bit better, you use an ellipses, ... to signal that you have taken something out. Right? You delete words if by doing so you can eliminate either unneeded or irrelevant information and focus attention on your point. So now you know how to add and delete words from quotations in your paper. Good luck.
Okay. Questions so far?
Here's the rule. Use single quotation marks to enclose a quotation within a quotation.
Okay, but what do you mean by a quotation within a quotation?
Good.
Apologies. Okay. So if you need to take anything out of a quotation so you can better focus on the ideas you want, all of these videos are going to be posted under course content, most of them under the final exam review, but I'll probably post whichever one we watched that day under announcements. All right, so ellipses are 3 spaced periods. That are used to delete material, words from a quote, when you don't need them, when you want to focus more on your idea, okay? And square brackets are used when you want to add something to a quote for clarification purposes. Because you get to see the original source. So you know what subject they're talking about, you know who Riley is, like in her example from the movie. But we didn't get to see the original since you're just taking a piece of it. So we might need a definition or a clarification, right? So these are 2 tools that can help you better use quotations in your paper, give you more space for your 10% by eliminating things you don't need, and help us understand the quote better if there's some part of it we're not clear on what the topic is or a definition that we need, okay? Any questions about that? Good so far. So you might want to try it out in this next paper if it applies, just to get a feel for it. Now I want to work on practicing the paraphrasing a little bit. So remember that when you paraphrase, you're translating something into the way you would say it. You're explaining it for someone. So for example, if you both read the same passage and someone's like, I don't understand, can you tell me what it means? You would not read the passage back to them, right? So let's try rewriting this paragraph. Do this first one together. Let me share the screen of the. So this is the one I'm focusing on right now. The Antarctic is a vast source of cold on our planet, just as the sun is the source of our heat, and it exerts tremendous control on our climate. Jacques Cousteau told the camera. So you can see right here in the square brackets, they added his first name because I believe his son or his grandson has also become famous. So they're telling us which Cousteau is talking about it. He's a famous ocean explorer. The cold ocean water around Antarctica flows north to mix with the warmer water from the tropics, and its upswellings help to cool both the surface of water and our atmosphere. Yet the fragility of this regulating system is now threatened by human activity. Okay, so this is what he's saying. And then here is the source, so we can cite it. But first, let's concentrate on the paraphrase. How would you put this into your own words? Okay. So get out some paper, or you can type it in and revise it into the chat, whichever you prefer, and put this into your own words. And then we'll compare different versions of them. And let me know if you have any questions as we're going along. Question? Once you have something, go ahead and type it into the chat. And remember, it's a shitty first draft. We're going to work on it. Yeah, you can take out cold ocean water. Or you can translate it into something else. What is the first idea in the main sentence? The Antarctic is a vast source of cold on our planet, and it, just like the sun heats our planet and exerts control over our climate, right? So what's the main thing he's saying in that sentence? If I said, explain it to me. When you're paraphrasing, it's good to pretend you're telling someone what it is that you just read. Come on, somebody give me a first sentence that translates. Isaac, what do you have? Thanks, Robert. Okay, now we go back and check it against the original. That's what you do when you're paraphrasing to make sure you didn't add anything to it or leave anything out of it that was in the original. So we've got Antarctica, that's good. It's a major source of cold on Earth. That's correct, right? See, it's, and what mostly controls our climate, I would say yes, but you could say like the sun, it controls our climate. Just to add it in, because otherwise it seems like it is the only factor that's controlling our climate, and he's talking about, yeah, the Antarctic and sun exerts tremendous control on our climate. You could take it out. You just want to make sure you're not seeming like you're saying that the Antarctic is a bigger influence on the atmosphere than the sun. Does that make sense? So you could do that by talking about the sun like he did in the original, or just saying The Antarctic is one of the major forces that controls climate on our planet. Okay. All right, we're about to run out of time here. We will finish talking about